you guys doing tonight?
Great, man. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So the main reason I wanted to bring you guys on specifically is because WhatNot is, I mean, it's not like super new to me. It is pretty new. I guess it's only about a month. I got COVID for the second time and didn't have anything to do.
Oh, no.
So for like 5 straight days, I just spent like $1,000 on comic books, which is way too much.
We've all been there.
But I really started enjoying buying comic books that way. And just like anything else, you run into like sellers who are kind of meh, and people like, you know, high quality. I know a local comic book shop here that sucks that I don't go to, and I found some people on WhatNot, or I wouldn't say sucks by name names or anything. It's just they're not my forte
Sure.
for whatever reason. But you guys have been I feel like very honest, very trustworthy, and very entertaining to watch. I like how you kind of both back each other up when, you know, one needs to take a break, the other one will jump on, and you do it on both your shows. So it's never kind of just like dead air for like 10 minutes or whatever. Like I've seen some other stuff first. So I just wanted to bring you guys on. So hopefully you could talk to our listeners a little bit about what you do. Maybe they might be interested in pursuing the same thing, or at least jumping on platform and shopping with you guys. So thanks so much for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks for having us.
So how long have you guys been selling comics?
That's a very mixed question. Yeah.
2 years for me.
We had very different journeys into comics. Yeah. Sure. Max is relatively new. She can tell you her origin story. I know she started hearing mine, but I've been selling comics for a living for over 30 years.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
You really do not look that old, honestly.
Oh, I appreciate that. I get that a lot. I get that a lot.
I would put you at like 35 or 36 years old.
That's how old I thought he was when I first met him.
I get that a lot, yeah. But no, for me, if you want me to go first, I basically, I grew up loving comics as a kid. And when I was a kid, they were 75 cents, and you could buy them at 7-Eleven and at newsstands back when those existed. And but I had a pretty poor upbringing and couldn't really afford comics, so I did little things on the side. You know, I had a paper route, mowed lawns, sold candy to friends at school that, you know, I bought on my way to school on my bike. And what was really a turning point for me was the moment at which I discovered that some books were actually worth more or would sell for more than the 75 cents dollar that I was buying them for. And I very quickly just kind of learned which books. One book that was kind of the turning point book for me was Man of Steel 18. It was the first appearance of Doomsday, and there was all this hype going on in the news about how they were going to kill Superman. And right away, right from the jump, that book, the day it came out on the newsstand, was already sitting around this book and selling to my friends for $5, $10, you know. And that was really the beginning of it. Once I went to my first little Comic-Con, I had a table when I was 13 at a Comic-Con in like the ballroom of a Marriott hotel somewhere locally. And I was hooked from that moment on. I just absolutely love it. I love flipping them.
But man, I didn't realize you were into comics for that long. It's kind of crazy to me.
Oh yeah, my whole life.
I've been in them. I don't remember the age I was, but my friend gave me a copy of the Spawn #1 when it first came out. So I guess I could.
Oh, okay, that's 1992.
So that's when I jumped. That's when I got kind of headlong into comic books, and it was quickly taken away from me by my mother when she found it after she looked through it. But then I had to beg and plead to jump in, and so I started getting some other more of mom-friendly comics.
There you go. Oh, she just didn't like the Spawn.
No, she started flipping through the book and
saw that there was a demon in hell and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I'm like a pedophile Iceman.
Yeah.
Ice cream man, and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" I was like, "I don't know." He's Spawn, Mom.
It's Spawn, Mom.
Spawn does what he does. But that's actually how I kind of got in love with DC comics, because those were always like PC. My mom liked them a lot better.
Yeah, they're very mom friendly.
So that kind of got me going in that direction. I don't even think I knew Marvel existed for the longest time. I think I just thought Spider-Man was also, and so X-Men were also DC. I had like no idea
Yeah.
because I watched them on TV, but I didn't read any of their books for quite a while.
Oh yeah, because that's right around when the animated series would have been on. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a good time to grow up in comics.
Right before the bust, because the comic bust happened around 1994, 95 is when there was the huge crash.
Yeah.
But before that, the early 90s were just absolutely, everybody thought that they could buy 20 issues of everything and put their kids through college and have a retirement with it, and so they were just grossly overprinted, and then it just all came crumbling down.
I kind of fear that a little bit of that has been happening over the last couple of years with variant covers.
It's happening majorly right now because there's a huge reckoning going on in the hobby with oversaturation of more and more ridiculous variants. Yeah. And now the whole fallout with the acetate cover variant at the C2E2 is just sort of started everything snowballing toward people saying, people getting to the point where they kind of feel like they're being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So
I definitely think it's been like that for a while. Like
it has been, yeah.
But it's gotten worse recently. Final Boss was kind of like the cutoff for me. Like, well, not the cutoff, but I was just like, I hadn't even heard of that comic, and people are like, these two comics I saw come on WhatNot. Like the first couple days they were out, the Final Boss came out, and they're like, these 2 or 3 comics are like $1,000. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
What's it called?
Final Boss.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, I still don't know what it is or haven't heard of it, but I know it's like an exclusive, small print run like variant comic that they make like a bunch of foil covers of and different things. And Kirkham just did another rehash of the same cover he does for everything.
Art again. Yeah.
And it's just, I'm like, I just can't. To me, well, I don't care. I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not gonna spend my money in that way. If I'm gonna spend that amount of money on comics, I'm investing in like my golden or early Silver Age runs that I'm trying to, complete. So,
exactly.
But I feel bad for like a lot of these newer collectors because I feel like they're jumping in on something that more than likely is going to vastly decrease in profitability. And then when that happens, are they going to blame the entire industry or the entire platform of comic books and then not be comic fans anymore, which is bad for the industry.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's going to happen is that when they see that things that they spent X amount of money on, they can't even recoup half of what they invested in it. They're just going to stop buying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it gives like the influencers that are giving us. Everyone who sells on WhatNot is now getting a bad rap because of this incident.
Yeah.
Because WhatNot did something they shouldn't have done. They didn't do the research that they should have done. And now people are like, cancel WhatNot. I'm like, this is how I make a living. I'm not out there peddling shit and telling lies and like trying to influence people to buy a certain book just so that I can make money. Just rob people's minds. There's so like 90%, 95% of the sellers on WhatNot are honest, good people. Yeah. And you're going to make all of us suffer because there's a few out there that are doing stuff wrong and they're doing stuff shady. That's not fair.
No, definitely not. Why don't you guys go ahead and just really quickly go over that?
Well, I mean, so basically, without getting into too much trouble, because we don't want to throw anybody under the bus or name any names or anything, but basically,
sure, yeah.
There is a retailer who had an exclusive variant, and when you buy a variant from Marvel requires a minimum of 3,000 copies. So you have to buy 3,000 copies of something in order to get an exclusive cover. And this retailer was having trouble selling all 3,000 copies of that book. And it's been out a little under a year. And so they had the idea that they themselves, not through Marvel, just they themselves would print and produce their own acetate overwrap that they then wrapped and stapled on top of 750 copies of the existing book that they weren't able to sell through. And they jumped the price. Yeah, they rebranded it as a new exclusive variant.
C2E2.
Right. So they brought it to C2E2 with a price tag of $85. and before that, which is astronomical and insane. And before the show opened, there was a queue of about 40 to 50 people lined up waiting to buy a copy. And before those people were able to do that, a handful of individuals who are very in the public eye, particularly because they're sort of WhatNot brand ambassadors. They're people that sell at the WhatNot booth and are endorsed by WhatNot. Sort of just strolled up and bought as many copies as they wanted.
Cut in line and got up to 75 to 125, depending on who it was.
Right. So
at
they
that price
bought an insane number, and people in line saw that and went, "Oh my God, these people are buying so many of these. They must be a great investment." And so people were buying huge quantities of them that had been waiting in line, and by the time it got, there were not enough copies to sell to everyone in line.
And they upped the price once it went too low. They upped it to $100.
Yeah, so then they jumped the price to $100, and then they started doing a thing where people had to purchase $100 worth of other products from them to get in a raffle for a chance to buy one for $100. So it was just sort of an exercise in greed.
Yeah, and then the influencers went over to the WhatNot booth and went live, selling these books for up to $300 or so.
Yeah, moments after purchasing them.
Like, just
jeez.
Right.
So
like
it's
that.
The optics are very bad, to say the least, and then unfortunately it got worse because the person who was offering the books and several of the people who were associated with the purchasing of many, many, many copies went live on Facebook and Instagram, WhatNot, what have you, and doubled down on it and just basically defended their decisions to do what they did. And then after days of just complete fallout, some of them are starting to backpedal, but it's a very bad look all around for everyone involved. It was a bad look for Marvel until Marvel said, "We did not have anything to do with this and do not approve of this." It's a bad look for CGC, who graded these with universal blue label grades, not
9.9s and 10.0s.
Right, which the person who created these books, that's a great question.
The people in charge at CGC are very unhappy with the people that were at the con representing CGC, and they're having to take on a lot of flack right now for that, because their whole job is to verify that this is in fact a legit exclusive, and they didn't do that.
When in reality it's a bootleg. And so what happened is they graded copies for the company that made these modified books, gave them 9.8s, 9.9s, and 110, I believe, and they were for sale at their booth for $500 for a 9.8, $1,250 for the 9.9, and $2,000 for the 10.0 right out of the gate, and they sold.
So somebody dropped $2,000 on a fake book, essentially.
And,
and then
Crane was given a 10.0 copy.
Oh, so there you go.
There was at least 2 10.0s. I know that much.
So it's a bad, the optics are not good for everyone involved. It's not good, certainly for the people that made them. They're going to definitely get the most heat, deservedly.
They're planning to do this again with several other exclusives at the Boston Comic Con.
Yeah, I suspect that their days of doing this kind of stuff are over. And it's a bad look for... it's a bad look, obviously, for the quote-unquote influencers. It's a bad look for CGC, certainly, but it's really a bad look for WhatNot, insofar as these people are ambassadors for that brand and selling this item on their platform. And it's a bad look for people like us who have absolutely nothing to do with this, because people are just using blanket terms like WhatNot sellers, and it includes all of the hundreds of honest...
Thousands
of...
There's more than just the comic book sellers.
Yeah. And so it
makes everyone look bad when only a handful of people were doing this, and it made WhatNot as a whole look greedy and like they were in on this scheme or scandal or however you want to call it. And then we automatically are going to get some flack for that. Like they'll be like, "Oh, you're just a WhatNot seller. Oh no, you're just like them." And it's like, no, we're not. Like I myself, I keep a book. Any exclusive I buy, I make a list of what I paid for it and what the fair market value, lowest price that I can find online for it is. And I tell everyone, okay, this book is a it's a $35 book, and I put it up and
Yeah.
I started at my my price, my $10 price. So, and if it goes over the fair market value price, I throw in another book and tell them how much the fair market value is and what the total fair market for both those books are, and they decide. And if they want to keep going, they keep going, and I add another book until
Right,
I would not be able to sleep at night if I knew I sold a $30 book for $50.
Yeah,
You know?
it's the reason that we have the following that we have, and an amazing community of really loyal buyers who come back each week, is we don't want you to overpay. We don't want to trick you into thinking that something that's really worthless is worth a lot of money.
We can make a living while selling stuff under fair market value. We can still make enough money to pay our bills. We're not looking to get rich. We're not looking for greed. We're looking to be a part of this community, bring people the books they love and want at a price that they can afford, and entertain them while we're at it. That's why we choose WhatNot over eBay. Anyone could go on eBay and just list stuff, but I don't get to interact with people. I don't get to do giveaways. I can't sell my art on eBay. I can't build up a community. And that's why we're always choosing places like WhatNot, or before we were on YouTube, is because it's so much more fun.
There's the community element to it, and it really is a unique platform, and it really is something that has the potential to be fantastic. It's just really going through, I think, a problematic phase right now that I hope that they'll figure out how to properly address and correct. Yeah.
They should have the resources for handling PR and damage control. WhatNot should. I know these individual sellers and WhatNot that went live immediately to defend themselves didn't handle it the best way, but WhatNot should be able to handle this properly, and I have faith that they will. I hope so.
I definitely think so, and I think it sucks for you guys, obviously, being that's the industry that you're in, that you got to deal with stuff that you had nothing to do with. And I can attest that they have nothing to do with it. I've bought comic books on both of their shows. I just bought comic books on Max's last show. I have purchased stickers and art.
Oh, nice.
Yes, the Dick Butt art. Yep, part of the brand.
That's been accidentally viral.
Yeah.
So I can attest to everything they're saying. They're great sellers, but there are also multitudes of other great sellers on WhatNot. And
for sure,
there's tons of great people out there. Even our friend, he just hit 10,000 followers, which is way beyond what either of us have.
Oh yeah,
more than both of us combined.
Yeah.
But he's a great person. We know him. We sold with him on YouTube before WhatNot was even around.
Yeah, and
we can attest that he's a great person. I don't know if he's considered an influencer or anything like that, but he's always been very solid, very reasonable.
He's a brand ambassador for the platform, but he's a great guy.
He has never done shady shit.
And and I think, it might suck at the moment for some WhatNot sellers, but I think WhatNot will come through it just fine. The platform, honestly, is just, I think, like, too robust, and it's such an interesting way to buy products that I think it'll end up being fine in the long run. But I was gonna segue into something.
Well, and just to dovetail off what you just said, one thing that if it remains this way, one thing that makes one advantage, I think, that WhatNot has over competitors that are definitely inevitably entering the market. eBay has announced an eBay Live beta. Certainly I guarantee you Amazon's going to come up with something of their own if they don't try to buy WhatNot outright. But one thing that is special about WhatNot is it really is carte blanche, which eBay, I know, would not be cool with, which is you can have shows that are not safe for work. You can have shows where you just
that's my show.
You can have music on in the background. You can have shows on. You can be, adult language, things like that.
Explicit
and
content. I always have that
explicit content
switched
warning
on.
is available. So that if they keep that, it will feel like it will continue to have this feeling that's special compared to something that I don't think you're going to get from an eBay Live or something similar from some corporate entity that feels compelled to sort of sanitize their platform, if that makes sense.
Have a lot more. But yeah, that's probably enough about that scandal, I suppose.
Oh yeah, definitely. We didn't need to go into too much detail. I just didn't want the people listening to be like, in case I didn't know exactly what was going on there at all. But
yeah,
I will say it is, speaking to what you just said, though, it is totally, it forms little communities. I used to at work spend all my time because I sit at a desk and whatnot. So listening to like podcasts or ebooks or stuff. But I chunk of my day sometimes now I'll just have WhatNot sellers that I like. I'll just have their stream on. I don't even really have the time to pay attention. I'll maybe buy a book here and there, but it's just like just for the back and forth banter. I can hear them talking and look down at the feed every once in a while and see what people are saying, and it's just interesting.
Oh
it's just
yeah.
fun.
Yeah, a friend of ours went live the other night and just talked for an hour and just had people come in and hang out. Max used to go live and would just draw. She would just have the camera pointed at the art she was working on
Or
and
play the kalimba.
yeah, play music. We have a friend who goes live and just, you know, will draw a custom piece and sell it when he's done and then start another piece. So it does have that sort of just hang out kind of feeling to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of fun. I definitely suggest anyone who hasn't jumped on the platform yet, at least to check it out. Because if you like comic books, if you like collectibles, really of any kind, I see people selling watches on there. I mean, like shoes, whatever.
Oh yeah,
food.
There are people selling snack foods from other countries, and I mean, my number one tip would be try to resist getting caught up in the thrill of bidding. That's one thing that people just get out of hand when they see that bid button and they get outbid, and before they know it, they've overspent on something. Yeah, exactly. So just, you know, try to exercise some discretion.
Remind people like, hey, this book is this is the cap value, like this is the value, fair market value. So just so you know, like, you know. And
I have actually heard you guys say that before when a book's starting to go a little higher. Like I remember at one book specific, I can't remember the specific book, but it was getting a little on the higher end. You were like, remember guys, this is a mid-grade copy.
I try to, I will, especially, with mine, I'll say, guys, did I mention like mid-grade? Like,
he's an excellent grader. I'll hand my books to him when I need something graded because I'm not sure, but he always undergrades he's very, what do you call it? Conservative with his grading. So you're always going to be pleasantly surprised rather than unexpectedly disappointed like so many other people are when they get books from other platforms or people, you know.
And we both, it's important to both of us that people walk away feeling, we want everyone to walk away feeling like they got value. We want them to open their box and feel like, yeah, this was great. I'm glad I got these books from these guys. So if they accidentally pay more than we think they should have, we're throwing free books in that box to close the gap.
No, absolutely. I just bought from Max the other day, and I think you had a book up, and you're like, if it hits $30, I throw on this other book, and I just bid $30 right away because I wanted both of them anyway. So it's like,
yeah, it was like $50 in value. I think I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So just
for 30, I was like, fuck yeah.
And those are, I mean, personally, like I said, I think the variant market's getting out of hand, but the variants you sell, I think they make a lot of sense. It's like if you like this art, it's a little bit more maybe than the normal cover, but it's not insane. Like if I buy those, like I bought a twig off you a while back too. It's like I just love the cover of this book. If it ends up staying at this amount of money, that'd be great. If it doesn't, Twig's an awesome comic, and I'm still gonna like this cover. I'm totally fine with the amount of money I paid for it.
Yeah, that must be the number one Rick Alves Virgin Variant exclusive, limited to 500 with COA. So yeah, I have all those stuff memorized. All of my exclusives get drilled into my brain by the time I sell them.
You make the good point though that you know, everybody drums on all the time. If you're buying what you like, you can't lose. If you like what you see and you're getting the stuff that you like and you're not thinking, wow, this isn't really a book I'm interested in, but I have that FOMO or I feel like this is going to be worth money in the future, that's kind of a recipe for disaster. Just buy the stuff that you like. And if you're with trusted sellers who will tell you, you know, this is what this is worth, don't overpay. Otherwise, you know, do your research and your due diligence and make sure that you're not, you know, getting caught up in the hype of overhyped books.
Yeah,
definitely. And everything swings around too. I've been a Submariner collector for a long time. And for the longest time, it was me in that line with nobody else.
Right. That's exactly right. Yes. No one cared about Submariner or Doom until about a year ago.
Oh, yeah. Doom as well. I mean, I haven't been a big collector of Doom, but I've always liked him as a character.
Sure.
I picked up some of his earlier, like, Avengers and X-Men books. Fantastic Four #5 is a book I bought a long time ago. That now is a little bit crazy, but yeah, definitely both of those have gotten.
Yeah, it's all spec. You know, it's people that think they're going to see him in the next film, and we know I mean, half of that Black Panther 2 trailer was Submariner. I mean, it looks like the Submariner show.
It was definitely. It was definitely a lot more than I thought. I kind of thought when they announced him that maybe he was just gonna have a small part in the movie, but it looks like a full-on war between Atlantis and Wakanda.
That's what it's been looking like for a
Didn't they call
while.
it something different than
Oh yeah,
Atlantis?
they're not calling it
being
Atlantis
dumb.
though. I think
It's
that
a bad choice.
they're changing the name.
Changing the name.
That seems weird to do, but
Yeah, that seems dumb.
Well,
I'm
because
just gonna call it now. Marvel, you dumb. The people in cinema, Marvel, figure it out. Come on, united front here.
the fans got to know. Aquaman came second. Namor
That's right.
was first.
Submariner predates Aquaman.
Yep.
If you don't know that, now you know.
That's right.
And Aquaman don't got wings on his ankles. Not as cool.
That's exactly right.
I don't know why Namor does either, but he does.
It makes no sense.
No, not at all. So, is this what you guys do full time, or do you have this plus other things? So
This is
So
what we
you
do
are-
full time.
So you are definitely successful enough on this platform to make a full time living at it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I do deals on the sides, and occasionally I'll join the WhatNot or the YouTube panels of our friends, maybe like once or twice a month. But that's not very much. Most of my income is from WhatNot.
Yeah, there's some sales that happen in the DMs. Sometimes people will see something on Whatnot and contact us and say,
Yeah,
"Hey,
or be
I
like,
missed
"Can
out
you
on this
hold that
book,"
till
or
payday? And I'll be like, yeah, I can hold it for you till payday. Stuff
Sure.
like that. Or if they want to do a payment plan, I'm like, we can do that. Technically not supposed to do that outside of WhatNot, but usually they're friends with me. They bought from me before. Before WhatNot, that's how I did everything. Was you trust them. You just had to trust me. And I always had my little spreadsheet for everyone and the days they paid and how and all this stuff. So all my customers were always really happy with it because they got what they paid for, you know. So yeah.
No, I think that's awesome. It's like I don't know. It's something you don't see. You can't really find that anywhere else. You know what I mean? Where you build these kind of relationships where you're willing to do things like that.
Oh,
Like
100%.
I remember I was talking to somebody the other day about the town I grew up in. It was very small, but we had a not that you guys are doing this, just reminded me of this story. We had a grocery store called Thrifty Foods, and
Oh, sure, yeah.
I used to go in there when I was like 4 or 5. My mom would literally send me there by myself with a list. They would give me the stuff, and I would just leave. And my grandpa would come in and pay for it, like at
That's
the end
awesome.
of the week or the end of the month. And so
Nice.
it's kind of cool that you guys have that. You know, you can build that kind of customer base on the platform, and that you can just have like a hobby that gets to pay for itself to a degree without having like a big store or a big a lot of overhead in that way. I think it's a cool platform. So
We do have
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot of
no,
books
absolutely.
in this house.
There are a lot of
It's
books in the
kinda
house, but
everywhere.
yeah, it's no the lack of overhead definitely makes us more able to give better deals
Mhm.
sure.
for sure.
Yeah.
How do you guys typically go about sourcing the books that you sell? Is it just Facebook
Honestly,
marketing or
and that's the funniest part about it is a lot of people, something that she and I joke about because they're, you encounter the people who think, well, that's not a real job. I can promise everyone out there, we are working 40, 50 hours a week easily. And I would say at least half of that time is spent sourcing collections, sourcing books.
Mhm.
It
Finding
is
deals.
it is the hardest part of the job, really is and they're everywhere. I mean, we buy on WhatNot, we buy on YouTube, we buy on eBay, we buy at local cons, local shops, anywhere where we can find good books for the right price.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally, and I probably do this a lot more than Remy does. He already knows so much about the books, whereas I'm more into modern books. So I spend a lot of time doing a lot of research
Yeah.
on them to find out the print run and like who's all involved in the creation of it and if it's key. And I write that all on the back of the book, the back of the backing board. And
Sure,
I also take notes in my notebook, so I have it all written down. I do research on price values, values of the books and all of that. And I have to do that every week, even if it's the same book, because if that price has changed, I'm going to look like a dumbass if I'm trying to sell so what I thought was a $60 book, I'm trying to sell for $30. If it dropped down to $25, I'm going to look like a dumbass if I'm trying to sell it for $30 still, because the market does change, especially with modern books.
Especially
With modern books, that price can change like that.
It 100% does. I've been organizing my books, as you see from the ones behind me, and I've been putting together a couple of long boxes of like what I consider $1 or less books.
Right.
Try to move that to like a local store or something. And recently, I just saw that like the first Beavis and Butthead comic starting to sell for like a decent amount of money now. And I know I have like 4 copies. I have like 4 copies of that, like chilling in like
I
the little.
copy of that too. That I paid $5 for.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. Now is not the time to liquidate your dollar books. If you've got a bunch of books that are worth $1, forget that you own them, because you'll blink. I can't tell you in the last 2 years since the second comic boom started right at the beginning of the pandemic, how many books that were dollar bin books for the last 20 years are now $40, $50, $60 books, and it can happen almost overnight.
Yep.
That's good advice. I might just have to put these in the basement and forget about them. And
that's what absolutely
that's
do
what
that.
half the stuff in your garage is, Remy.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, when I see a book hit, I'll go to the garage and dig through pallets of long boxes and find a chunk of copies that I forgot that I owned. So yeah.
I think actually I saw you selling a set of books that the same thing did that. It was that set of Daredevil books, the Kingpin story. I didn't know those were worth any money either.
I'm not joking. That just happened, and that only happened because they recently announced that the new season of Daredevil, it's about an 18-episode season, I think, is going to be called Daredevil Born Again. And so what happened is there was a 7-issue run of Daredevil from the 80s, and just like you said, those were dollar bin books.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden that set sells for $150.
Yeah, I have the last one in a CGC 9.6 that I picked up extra on the side for a trade for $30 a month ago.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, the cover on that last one is great.
It is. The Armageddon one, I believe, is the last cover. But but then I saw you say that, and I was like, these are not worth $100. And I looked at it, and I was like, he's not wrong.
Oh, shit. It just happens, boom. With all the stuff Marvel's releasing. Yeah.
Very bizarre. It's like typically my collecting habits are in the like early silver to gold. Like I'm trying to finish my run of the Shadow. I'm trying to finish my run of Superman's girlfriend, Mary Jane, or not Mary Jane. I don't know why I said that. Lois Lane.
There you go.
Slip up. But so those
that would be one hell of a crossover.
Yeah,
Superman and Mary Jane.
They've done weirder, trust me.
Yeah, if you read the old Lois Lane books, they are all weird, so it would not surprise me. But
absolutely. They're all that was kind of like one of their takes on romance books. You know what I mean? They were trying to. Those were intended for the female market at the time, and so they were all kind of campy and silly. But they're fun.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's like Superman killing Lois Lane in space on the cover of one of them, and Lois Lane wanting to turn black for a day. Like
that one's one of my favorites.
Weird.
That book is a legendary. Absolutely. I mean, and the cover of it, I don't know if you've had that book. It just says I'm curious, and then some ellipses, and it says black. And it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, I got it around here somewhere. No, definitely not.
So is your FF5 slabbed or raw?
It's raw.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of slabs.
I'm not overly a fan of slabs either. I kind of agree with him maybe if the book is like so degraded that it's just saving the book a little bit.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's not my biggest thing. Like I just actually picked up a grail of mine since you collect Golden Age as well, but the Speed Comics number 38.
Awesome book.
Yeah. The
awesome
first
book.
homage to Hiroshima, but
classic
if I can find them not in raw, that's the direction I'm going.
Do you find those in the wild?
Sorry.
Like at your LCSs, or did you find that online?
This one I actually found locally at a comic book shop I don't normally go to. I was just driving, and I had some extra time, so I hit on my my Google Maps comic book shops close to me, and they just happened to have it hanging up, and I was like, I've been looking for that book for quite a while, and I wasn't.
That is not very usual. I mean, you do not see books like that in the wild.
Definitely not, and I wasn't really looking to spend like $400 on a book that day, but I was like, I guess I'm buying this today.
Well, that's the thing with Golden Age books is you don't know the next time you're going to have an opportunity to see that book.
Exactly.
That's not a book where you're like, if I change my mind in a month, I can just hop on eBay. I mean,
yeah, definitely not. I mean, even this, just because I have some local ones here, this issue of Dandy #1. I haven't seen another one on eBay. I haven't seen one recently anywhere.
That book is like one of those outliers. It's an EC book, but it's like a funny book. You know what I mean? It's not, because EC is so known for their horror that's not a book that you see very often.
No, and it's not even. I mean, it's not even really that expensive. To get it in a higher grade, that definitely would be. But I've never even seen one in a high grade. Like, I know they must exist, but
that's not a book that people kept in nice shape. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is that's why almost all EC books. I mean, that's why, you know, pre-code horror books are just astronomical in high grade, because they just, every single one of those books got read to death, and just the covers are falling off, and yeah, so to get those even in a mid grade is really tough.
It definitely is. But yeah, I mean, for that, answer the question like a little bit more fully, I try my hardest to find stuff when it's that old in person. I mean, like, if I see somebody selling it or whatnot, like, yeah, I'll take a shot at it, because like you said, you don't run around gold dates that often, but they're books I'd like to physically hold, or, you know, see it myself, but you just don't run into them very often at all.
It makes sense, which is why a lot of people don't trust unslabbed vintage books.
Yeah. And I definitely understand too.
I kind of get that. Yeah. I mean, and like you said, you know, with certain books, like especially with big blue chip keys, like you kind of have to slab them, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, to preserve the book, like you said. And just, you know, when you get into books that start to be like 5-figure plus books, then yeah, people are going to want those slabs. So yeah, it's kind of a sad reality, but it's all a matter of, you know, there are so many books out there where the disparity between the raw price and the slab price are so high, you could almost own 2 copies of the book raw for the prices going for slabbed. And so that's
it's crazy to me that when that came out too. And I remember I did have a comic book shop owner about go crazy on me. I think it was about 5, I don't know, it was more than that. It was like 7 years ago. I bought a copy of the Iron Man Submariner #1 before they branched out to their own books.
Right.
And he had it slabbed at an 8.0 from CBCS or CGC, not CGC, the other one that I can never remember, the CBCS.
Yeah.
I always get it confused, but I started cracking it at his store. I was just like, he's like, what are you? This is before I didn't have any graded books. I didn't know anything about graded books. He's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I want to read the book.
You're gonna read an 8.0? Wow.
Yeah, but I still have it.
Nice.
Maybe it's a 7.5 now.
Probably.
I've cracked a couple slabs.
But yeah, that was actually pretty early on into my like collecting more expensive books. Like, I think I started my early age Final Fantasy run right after that. But so I didn't know that much about expensive comics or high grade comics.
Right.
But
I mean, that's an expensive read if you're going to get an 8.0 and crack it to read it. That's a
it wasn't that bad back then. It's a lot more now.
Sure.
Yeah. I think it was $180 when I bought it.
Oh wow, okay. So this is a while ago.
Yeah. It was like 7 years ago. It was quite a while. 7-8 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, but he was still like, "What are you doing?" I was like, I don't know why you guys encased this book in this fancy plastic.
I bought it. It's mine now. I can light it on fire if I want.
He was like, "You should have just told me. I would have videoed it or something." Like, it's whatever. But yeah, I mean, do you guys have anything else specific you wanted to talk about, or I don't want to keep you here too long, but it's been fun chatting.
No, I mean, not really. Anything you want to ask? Otherwise,
I think I'm good. Oh, I mean, we didn't get. If you wanted to, Max, like, so you, I know we were going to talk about it earlier, but we were cutting out. You've only been in comics selling for 2 years now, you said?
Yeah, I've only been for 2 years. I had a friend. I used to live in Omaha, Nebraska. Born in Nebraska, lived there my whole life up until recently, and he was a huge comic book collector, and I didn't think much of it. And then one day he invited me to a local con, like just similar to how Remy's local cons were. Like, it was a conference room that was rented out in a hotel not far away. It was in town, and so we went there and met up, and I do struggle with autism and like sensory overload, and it was really crowded and busy in an unfamiliar space, and so I was feeling very overwhelmed and trying to stay by him, but he kept going over looking through books, and I was looking through some books, and I found this one. It was a Ghostwriter #1 blank black cover, and I just found it really calming because it was all black and all plain, and so I bought that for $5, and I turn around and he's like, "Oh, what'd you get?" I'm like, "A book." And he's like, "Oh, cool." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go sit outside on the bench for a little while." So I was sitting out there, and he came out and he said, "Here you go." And he handed me a book. He bought me a Ghostwriter book. So I say it's his fault that I got into comics, because if you have one, you're not a collector. But the moment you have two, and before you knew it, my entire kitchen table was filled with short boxes and a couple long boxes in my 1-bedroom apartment. And I just got really into collecting, and I started learning more about it. You know, like every newcomer, I was going through dollar bins, and I had a lot of cheap little books. I didn't get any big books. I didn't know any better, but I started to learn. And once I started to learn and realize what I did like and what I wanted to collect, and I was like, man, I have all this shit I bought when I was a noob that I really needed to get rid of, so I have room for the stuff that I actually want. And I started selling live on YouTube comic auction panels, and that's actually where I met Remy in about, I think it was January of 2021.
2021. Yep.
Yeah, like December of 2020, January 2021. I met him because he joined on a panel, and we started talking and hanging out and on the backstage and stuff and having fun, like with our friends. And then we started having Instagram chat calls, phone calls, and before you knew it, we were dating, and it was long distance. Then he came out to visit me one time, then I went out to visit him one time, and we said, you know what, this is dumb. I quit my day job. I was working as a chef full time, and I was like, man, I made so much sales in comics that I was continuously questioning, like, why the fuck am I here every time I came into work? You know, I was like, why am I here? So, and he gave me the courage. He said, you could do this full time. You have what it takes. You know, you've got the knowledge and you've got the attitude for it. So I said, fuck it, let's do it. And we packed my car. It was filled to the brim with short boxes of comics and two cats.
Yeah.
And made the trip from Nebraska to California, and now here I am. So
and let me tell you, driving through Colorado was the roughest part of that trip.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I had to like have my hands from the front.
Going through the Rockies. I'm telling you, these long boxes were like
holding all the comics from falling onto the cats, which were just chilling in the backseat because we drugged them up.
Yeah, so. Colorado was definitely the worst part of that trip.
It was beautiful though.
It's gorgeous,
absolutely,
but just the hills
beautiful.
Were just, I thought that we were going to be pancaked under a mountain of short boxes.
And cats.
Dude, I've lived here since I was like 5, and I still feel that way driving through the Rockies. So that's not, that's not abnormal.
Props to Remy. He drove the whole time.
Dude,
the whole journey he drove. I couldn't believe he did that. I was very impressed.
Not only does it look sketchy, but for some reason there's like dudes in their trucks going like 75 miles an hour.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The semi trucks were the scariest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so, I know those guys who drive those semi trucks because that's more in my field of what I do every day.
Oh, okay.
Those guys shouldn't be allowed out there.
But yeah, that's what happened, and I've been living here just a little over a year now, doing it full time.
That's really cool. And it's really cool that, I mean, you guys have that you found like a hobby that you really enjoy that you can do full time as a job as well.
Oh
we
found
absolutely. Each other because of comics. So
yeah, comics. Cool. Yeah, definitely
changed my life.
and honestly, just to go back to what we were talking about before about community, I mean, there are all kinds of collectible communities out there. Some are a little more toxic than others, but I can tell you that the comic community really is like a family.
Yeah,
we've made some of the best friends we've ever had in this community.
People, if someone's like, hey, I'm experiencing trouble, I have all these doctor bills, people will pounce to like do a raffle or host an
charity
auction.
And,
we've raised so much money for so many different people. I've done some charity auctions for like Wounded Warriors projects. Haha, you wish on WhatNot. Follow him. He does a charity auction every month
all
on
the
WhatNot.
Time. Yeah.
And you can send books to him to sell that all goes to charity. And I think lately WhatNot has been matching those donations. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
nice. I don't know
quote me
about
on
that, yeah.
but I think they heard what he was doing and decided to match him. I'm not sure. I think that's what happened.
That's great.
So
That's
yeah,
really cool.
comic book community is so great. There's, I think, Pokemon and the Funko Pops communities are pretty toxic. It seems, from my experience, they can be very harsh.
Send all your hate mail to Max.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I like Pokemon. I have tons of Pokemon cards I want to sell, but I was like, I actually did a few Pokemon shows on WhatNot, and then like I was like very intimidated by it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick to comics for now.
No, and I think you point out what I think is very true, honestly, because the comic book community in Colorado is amazing too. So just on WhatNot, it doesn't surprise me that it's still good there. Sorry, the audio is slow on your end. I have no idea why, but
That's okay.
We'll equalize it in the post processing. But I also played competitive Magic the Gathering for many years.
Nice.
I have to admit, the community there is definitely not as friendly. So it is a little bit true.
More competitive.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah, and just the amount of people too that like. What I love about comics is I collect some serious books and then not, but like I just showed you a copy of Dandy #1, 2, and like Superman's Girlfriend. It's like I collect some what people would call stupid books, but no one's gonna give me. No one will ever. I've never had anyone give me shit about like that when I go to buy them or collect them. You know what I mean? But in Magic the Gathering, if you're not playing like the top end competitive, everybody's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
Why are you an idiot?
It's like, come on, can I just have fun?
I just like my stuff. Why do you hate my stuff?
I like what I like. Leave me alone. I'm not hurting anyone. I mean, there's some dumb books that I love that aren't worth more than $1 or $2, but I love them. You know.
Oh yeah. It's
what you
like.
Like.
Comics, it's not about that. But yeah, for sure. Well, guys, it was really fun talking to you. I had a great time. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go so this doesn't go over an hour. We'll probably, when we cut it into the correct amount of time, it's probably like 45 minutes, 40 minutes.
Right. No, this is a blast. Thank you so much for having us. It really was a pleasure. And yeah, anything that we can do to contribute to you guys' platform, just reach out, let us know.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. And guys, if you have not bought on WhatNot, or if you do buy on WhatNot, you guys want to plug both your show names real quick so they can look you up?
Sure.
Mine is Max Comix, MAXCOMIX. So comics spelled with an X.
And I am Robot Monster Island, all one word. Don't ask where that name came from. It's just a weird name that made me smile when I came up with it years ago, and
that's how I renamed him Remy.
That's why people call me Remy. When I first started selling on YouTube, I couldn't fit my entire PayPal name and my business name on the screen, so I just shortened it to RMI Comics. And she gave me the nickname Remy immediately, and now strangers come up to me and call me Remy. So, word of warning, word of warning, if Max gives you a nickname, it's gonna stick. So,
hey, I speak to the weird names. I used to do wedding photography, and my company's name was Mexi a Merry Man. It was a Mexi a Merry Man photography. And I got no end of shit for that, but it worked out well.
Nice.
Oh man, then we start to pick up at the end there. But yeah, guys, thanks for listening to Thinking Outside the Longbox.